question.
Does that get a hold of some bad sushi or something?
I'm not sure. He's not, I don't think it's serious, but he missed yesterday and was feeling better today, but not great. And he was a little dinged up with one other thing too, which is not serious either. So, he'll be out tonight, and we'll go from there. And that means Brokoff will be active.
You had mentioned after practice yesterday about trying to get Tim going or taking responsibility for helping to get Tim going. What are some of those ways that you guys might go about that?
You'll see. I don't want to get into exactly what we would try to do. Look, he's playing well. He just has had a run of tough shooting nights, but he continues to be, I believe, our best raw plus minus guy in the season, which is pretty phenomenal for a guy that's playing off the bench. And he's been a leader of our second unit and stuff like that. So I don't want to mess with it too much because the guy's really playing a great overall game of basketball. But I'd always love to get him some better shots, some easier shots, etc.
How has Brokoff been able to maintain his game during this period where he hadn't played yet?
Well, he is a hard worker, and he's playing in 5-on-5 games with our interns. You got to do those kinds of things when you're not, on the active roster, aren't in the rotation, stuff like that. And so, this is just part of the profession of being that kind of player where you're a depth player. When I played way back when, it was a similar type of situation. You find ways to try to keep your rhythm and your conditioning. Sometimes I'd go down to 14th Street Y in New York and play with Pete Vesey and a bunch of those guys. Just to stay into it. Wouldn't necessarily a great idea from a safety standpoint, but you try to you got to find ways to keep yourself ready.
Dwight, we've asked him, and he's never one to say much about what might be ailing him. But how have you seen him come along since sitting out those early games, and then now getting back to where he, can contribute a little bit better?
Yeah, I think he's finally getting to the point where he really feels 100%. His stats aren't, I don't think, what they've been the last couple of years, but the structure of the team is quite different, and so that certainly plays into it. Due to matchups, we've had nights where he's come off the bench, and I think one of his better games was in Memphis where he played off the bench. I think he was double figures in points and did a lot of, and had a lot of rebounds and stuff like that. But with him, it's never really about stats. It's about the force he plays with and his pursuit of the ball and how he screens and what his roles set up for teammates and things like that. So I feel good where he's at. Tonight, he'll have some other unusual responsibilities due to the matchup with Golden State.
Rick, the other night after the game, in the midst of everybody asking him about his performance, Luka made it a point to say something about how much of a contributor he thought Dorian was to the game on Monday. And in his time here, it seems like he's a real share the credit kind of guy when it comes to his teammates. I was wondering about your perspective. Do you see that same dynamic in him, that he's very much about, in the midst of everybody asking about him, he's always quick to want to spread the wealth and share the credit with his teammates and that sort of thing?
Yeah, he's a giver. Luka's a giver when it comes to those kinds of things. Sharing the credit with teammates. There were a couple instances in the game where he knew Dorian was in a groove offensively. At one point, he called a play that he knew was going to get Dorian wide open for a three at the top. It was in the second half. It wasn't like it was a key play at the end of the game or anything, but it was a play that was a momentum play nonetheless against a team like San Antonio that was highly motivated and in great need of a win. And so there were one or two situations like that with Dorian, and he's got a real good pulse on what's going on with the other guys as well.
Coach, Luka isn't afraid. He's not afraid to shoot from 30-plus feet. Do you think that somebody like Stephen Curry has influenced his generation at all and maybe made it a little bit more easier or acceptable to be willing to pull up on that deep?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question that Steph Curry's had a major impact on the overall game. When you look around the league and you see teams, almost top to bottom that have some kind of auxiliary line back beyond the regular three-point line, whether it's some teams call it a four-point line, some call them spacing lines, whatever. But the trend in the game now to create more space is to shoot from further out, and it's become a fact of life. Steph's a big part of it. Durant's a big part of it. Klay Thompson certainly is a big part of it. Harden is a big part of it. And Luka's a big part of it now too. But I do believe that that Steph's had an influence on that for sure.
Coach, when you look at the Warriors and you see the way injuries have crippled that team, maybe do you not have, it's not necessarily pity for an opponent, but is this an example of the way that wins and success can be very precarious in the NBA?
Yeah, but look, what they're doing right now is extremely positive. I've watched their last 3 games, and the group that they have right now is getting better each game. They're scary to play because they go hard, they share it. They're, you can tell they're really tied together. And defensively last night, they were very, very good against Memphis. So, look, in the NBA, every day you've got to see what hand you're dealt as a team, and take it and try to do the best to make it better, regardless of what the situation is. Sometimes it can be when you're fully healthy, and they've certainly experienced some of those stretches as well. Certainly not as many of them, but it's a hard league, and it's supposed to be hard. Okay, thank you.